We are joined right now by a CBS Sports senior writer, friend of the program, host of the Pick Six podcast. And I know he's fired up right now. He is Will Brinson. Good to have you back, Will. What's up?
Jim, what's going on, man? Great to talk to you. Excited to have football.
Always good to have you, Will. Things are great here. Let me jump right into this. We're only 1 week into the exhibition games, Will, but let me start you off with the 49ers situation. How does Trey Lance look to you so far, and what do you make of that 49ers quarterback situation overall?
So I think I'm going to be the sucker that keeps believing Kyle Shanahan when he says things. You know, even though everybody fell for the Mac Jones smokescreen, I guess I didn't, but you get the point. I think he's going to use both of these guys. I really do. I don't think he wants he wants to keep Jimmy G and Trey Lance around, in my opinion, because he feels like the reason the 49ers have not advanced to the postseason more frequently lately in his regime is that he didn't have a healthy quarterback for a full season. I think he believes if he has two of those guys, and that's why he didn't want to trade Jimmy, he believes that that'll work itself out over the course of 2021. I also think that he's going to maybe it'll be 90-10, maybe it'll be like 93-7 in terms of split, but I think he's going to use Trey Lance in a lot of packages, and I think he's going to have him out there, using his legs to create mismatches that cause havoc for defensive coordinators. And eventually, if Jimmy G doesn't win games or doesn't play well, Trey Lance will probably become the starter. But I think they're going to try and make it like a 2017 Alex Smith, Pat Mahomes situation if they can.
Will Brinson joining us. All right, Will, so you never want to overreact to a single exhibition game, but what do you make of what you saw from Justin Fields in week 1? And then how big is the news that he's currently dealing with a groin issue?
I mean, the groin injury is obviously not a good thing, but I don't think it really matters, Jim. I really believe that the Bears were not going to let Justin Fields leapfrog Andy Dalton on the depth chart. I know it sounds insane, but if you listen to that comment that Andy Dalton, I don't know if you heard it, but he just said it a few minutes ago on some Bears Facebook Live thing. He said Justin Fields is going to have a great career, but it's my team right now, and I got to focus on being the quarterback of the Bears. It's not as cocky as Twitter's making it out to be, but I think it really hits home that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace have told Andy Dalton, you are our starting quarterback. And in my opinion, it's going to end up looking pretty similar to what happened with Mike Glennon and Mitchell Trubisky a few years back when they did this. It was almost playing out identical. They signed the veteran, then they surprise draft the kid in April or May, and then they guarantee the veteran's going to start. The team doesn't win football games, and so they yank the ripcord, break glass in case of emergency, try to save our jobs, and bring in the rookie midway through the season. So I firmly believe Andy Dalton is going to get a couple of games to start the season, and if they're winning those games and they got some good matchups, then he could continue to start for a while.
Will Brinson joining us. I'm jumping around the league. Will, we're talking quarterbacks. Let me ask you about Tua. How did Tua look to you in that Dolphins-Bears game?
Yeah, I think Tua's looked a lot sharper, really in the offseason as a whole. And not that he had, like a massive game or anything like that, but the addition to Jalen Waddle, I think, is huge. He's such a playmaker in space, and that'll sort of allow Tua maybe not necessarily a check down option, but somebody that they can manipulate in terms of getting him open underneath and letting him take off. He can also clearly take the top off of defenses. And the real focus for Tua this offseason, I mean, you can hear it in what he's saying, what his coaches are saying, and really how they're approaching practice and these game scripts. They want Tua to focus on the deep ball. He did not take deep shots last year. I think there's a chance that maybe the inability to max out in terms of his torque because of that hip injury caused him to be a little hesitant or caused him to minimize the number of shots they wanted to take down the field. That's going to be a point of emphasis for them in 2021. They want to take deep shots, and if Tua is going to develop into that franchise quarterback for them, he's going to have to, have that deep ball accuracy that we saw at Alabama.
He's going to have to push it down the field. Will Brinson joining us. Now, Will, you touched on this on your podcast. The Browns are absolutely loaded in key spots, but you admit you're still stuck in that old way of thinking about the Browns, that they're the Browns, and they'll always be the Browns. Break it down for me. What do you like, and what is stopping you from jumping on this bandwagon?
The fact that they're the Browns, and I'm an NC State fan, Jim. I understand how history works, and you got to bust through some smaller barriers before you can really take that big leap and make a Super Bowl run. It just feels like everyone is just conceding the Browns a playoff spot, which is crazy to me. And I get it. I mean, they are. You look at their roster and you see that they have this fantastic offensive line, maybe the best in the league. They have two running backs who can tote the rock for them. If one's injured, Kareem Hunt can step in for Nick Chubb and vice versa. I think Odell Beckham is due for a bounce back at some point. I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. And then defensively, they really shored up things and added more help in the secondary, brought in Clowney, beefed up the defensive line. There's a lot to like with this team. It just feels crazy to me that we're going to give the Browns a playoff spot as if they have suddenly arrived on the scene in the AFC as just a perennial contender. So I'm a little hesitant, and I think from a Vegas perspective too, 16-1 to win the Super Bowl? No thanks. I mean that's just not a good number. I would prefer the Ravens to win the division, and while I do think the Browns will hit the over on their win total, the number is just too high for me to take it.
I'm not even sure I agree with even one thing you just said about America's team, but I still love you, brother, nonetheless. I love these guys and all that stuff about, you're right. They've got that two-headed monster in the backfield. I'm a huge Baker guy. I love the offensive line. They've shored up the defensive line. Man, they're going to show up and they're going to get it done. But you and I will continue to talk about that throughout the year. What about, Will, Mac Jones getting a standing ovation when he entered the game for the first time as a Patriot? And what did you make of the way he showed up?
I thought Mac looked I think Bill Belichick was probably a little, not like he was scared to draft Mac Jones, but I think he was sitting there at their draft slot like, all right, we're not going to have any of these, none of these quarterbacks are going to fall to us. He's like, oh no. He's like, now I got to take Mac. And I think he was a little hesitant about it. And now I firmly believe that Belichick believes Mac is as far along as he hoped he could be, and that he's just composed. I don't know, kind of game manager, but you feel like he's steady and composed, and he made some big throws, stepping in muddle pockets, willing to take some shots down the field. And I think this will be a little bit like the Bears and the 49ers. I expect Cam Newton to be the week one starter. It's not only because you just have an advantage as the veteran in terms of the reps. And I think Belichick and Kyle Shanahan and Matt Nagy would prefer to start the veteran, and then if things go south, you bench the veteran for the rookie rather than starting the first-round rookie. Things go south, and you have to bench him and really open yourself up to a lot of questions about whether or not it was a good draft pick.
All right, so, Will, really quickly, a few weeks into the Dallas Cowboys' appearance on Hard Knocks, what do you make of what you've seen from them?
I'm hard out on the Cowboys based solely on the fact that Mike McCarthy is using an Austin Powers reference to motivate his team with Mojo Monday. I mean, what are we doing here? It is 2021. You are a grown adult man, and you are making on a TV show that is going to be watched by millions and millions of people. You're making a Mojo Monday practice thing. I mean, that is. I love Dak. The injury is concerning for sure. That's another reason to be out on the Cowboys. I love CeeDee Lamb, one of my favorite players in the NFL. There's a ton on that offense to like. They're going to score a bunch of points, but I'm hard out of the Cowboys strictly because of Mojo Monday.
Listen, I could not agree with you more about that Austin Powers reference. And I'm going to say I agree with you when you say a hard out on the Cowboys, but I'm going to say a hard out on the Cowboys on Mike McCarthy because he's Mike McCarthy. Like, I'm not going to buy into this at all. Not to get personal about it, and it's not personal, I do not see that guy leading anybody anywhere, much less that team anywhere that matters. All right, one last thing, Will, and this is great. You're raising money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital by auctioning off the ability for somebody to have a Zoom call with you to break down fantasy football, NFL futures, and more. Lay it out for me. How does it work, and how much help are you going to provide?
I appreciate it, Jim. Yeah, we're CBS Sports. We're doing the CBS Sports telethon that we always do. Last year I got choked, 2 years ago I got chokeslammed by Eric Young. They were going to put me through a table, but they decided to pass on that. And now I'm getting a little break this year. I just have to do a Zoom call with somebody. You can go. I tweeted it out. It's on my Twitter handle @WillBrinson. But you can bid on I don't know, 10 minutes, we'll do 20 minutes. I don't care. We do however long. Whoever wants, you can bid on a private Zoom call with me leading into the season. We'll crack some cold beers. We'll sit around. We'll talk football. We'll figure out what the best bets are. And if you want to do your fantasy draft with me live, that's fine too. All proceeds, of course, go to benefit St. Jude. So I'm more than happy to hop on a Zoom call with whoever is interested in paying for my time.
Good job. I love that. He is a CBS Sports senior writer. He is a friend of the program, host of the Pick Six podcast. He is Will Brinson. Great job, Will. Thanks so much. And I know you and I will chop it up again soon.
Always a pleasure, Jim. Thanks, man.
My man, Will Brinson. Austin Powers references. Mike McCarthy is using that to fire up his guys on Monday. That's the guy that you're going to lead from the front. You know, kind of like that whole rap against Aaron Rodgers that, how can the guy be the GOAT? He's only got one ring. The fact that he even got a ring with Mike McCarthy is a miracle.